everyone, welcome back to Newsroom. Chella Smith here, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on YouTube. I air on Fridays. I bring you the latest on reforms and economics based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review and it's based off my interests. Thank you everyone for joining me. Let's get right into our news headlines. I won't be keeping you long today, and I will be jumping around from news to what I feel is important. We shall push forward as I feel really burnt out. Baghdad ops list. The federal Supreme Court rejects on Monday, April 4th, 2022, the lawsuit relating to the re-exchange of the U.S. dollar in relation to the Iraqi dinar and the predecessors at an amount of 120,000 Iraqi dinars for every 100 U.S. dollar. Now, on March 14th, the courts decided to postpone the case for raising the dollar exchange rate to April 4th, which it didn't happen. So this will be interesting to see how this all pans out in the next court sessions, and I will be keeping you updated. Baghdad ops list reports the fight against terrorism in the Kurdistan region confirmed Wednesday, April 6th, that the missiles fell near Herbal. In a statement received by al-Masala, the Ministry of Defense said that according to the information of the fight against terrorism in the Kurdistan, 3 missiles fell near Herbal a short while ago. According to the information, the missiles did not fall, though near any oil station. Baghdad ops list reports the financial advisor to Prime Minister Mauser Mohammed Saleh determines on Wednesday the strategy for paying off external and internal debts, while revealing the value of the Iraqi public debt. Saleh told al-Masala that the maximum limit for the internal public debts are approximately 70 trillion dinars, or the equivalent of foreign currency of $48 billion, which are debts imposed by the circumstances and conditions of 2 successive double crises that affected the national economy in close terms. The first crisis in the financial insecurity doubling during the year 2014 through 17 due to its war on ISIS, terrorism, and liberations of cities accompanied by decline in oil prices, while the other is the double crisis, financial and health, that struck the country throughout the year 2020 and the global economy closed due to the corona pandemic. The decline in oil prices and the deterioration of the country's oil revenues by 40% from their rates in 2019, forcing the House of Representatives to issue 2 borrowing laws in the year 2020. The strategy of extinguishing the internal debt goes to repaying the government's debt instruments held by the government banking system, which is currently in possession of about 98% of the debt, which is represented by the Treasury transfer, maturing only 1 year and bearing annual interest on an average of 3%. The debt repayment was postponed for many years due to high financial deficits at the time, and the only annual interest on it from the public finance, pointing out that the strategies to extinguish the internal debt was the approval will be able to extinguish the internal debt during the period of 2022 through 2044, which will enable government commercial banks to support the elements, its liquidity, and raising the value of its investments, as well as sending good signal of high coordination between the monetary and financial policies, because the Central Bank of Iraq is the highest holder of the public debt instrument. Treasury transfers issued by the Ministry of Finance by accepting its deductions based on bank's desire by liquidating it, that within the scope of operations opening markets. Baghdad Magazine News reports the constitutional deadline for electing a new president for Iraq has expired on Wednesday in light of continuing political crisis and the inability to complete parliament session to choose the president, which needs a quorum of 2/3 of a number of deputies, amid expectations that the federal Supreme Court will intervene to issue a new decision regarding the deadline position. The Iraqi parliament failed twice in choosing a new president for the country during the past week, after 220 deputies out of 329 could not vote to choose the president, and stipulated by the Constitution in force since 2005. The President of the Republic and Council of Ministers will work as a caretaker government until the end of the next new period, ruling out the possibilities of acknowledging the formation of an emergency government, stressing that the end of the constitutional period regarding holding the presidential election sessions has expired and will force Parliament to return again to the federal court to clarify a new interpretation regarding the period that can be granted again to hold the presidential election sessions or what it will decide on the fate of this session. All political forces, especially the big ones, face great embarrassments in front of the Iraqi streets, which has not seen a political breakthrough, warning of a wave of popular anger if the dangerous political blockage continues. The head of the Supreme Judicial Council in Iraq, Sheikh Zaydan, has confirmed last Sunday that the federal court has constantly worked hard for the president of the republic to hold his position because this case does not apply to constitutional text of the vacancy of the position, stressing the need to amend the current constitution. On the 5th of last month, the Iraqi parliament voted to reopen candidacy for the position of President of the Republic in an attempt to end the wide political debate in the country since the legislative elections were held 6 months ago. This is the third time the candidacy for presidency of the Republic has been open. Parliament's decision in the first session, which was held on the 9th of last January, to open the doors for candidacy for a period of 30 days, but the session devoted to voting on the election of the President of the Republic, which was scheduled for the 7th of February. It did not convene due to the lack of quorum. So the Parliament Speaker decided to open the candidacy door again for a period of 3 days, which began on the 8th, before the federal court canceled the decision. Baghdad Magazine News reports Tuesday, a high-ranking delegation from NATO arrives in capital Baghdad. The media office of the Speaker of House of Representatives said in a statement that al-Habassi received a distinguished delegation from Parliament Committee of NATO headed by the representatives. And then later that day, Shafak News reports the Council of National Security Agents in Iraq agreed Tuesday to conclude a military memorandum of understanding with NATO. Earlier, the Council held its 8th session for 2022, headed by the National Security Advisor in the presence of members of Council. A statement issued by al-ARG's office said that the Council discussed the topics on its agendas and took the necessary decisions and recommendations regarding them, where the Council agrees to conclude the Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Defense and the Republic of Iraq and the NATO group, according to the statement. The statement added that what regards to the issue of the Security Intelligence Center in Iraq's Reform Department, the Council directed the formation of a joint committee to review and mature this file and clarify what is related to defining the task and powers of each party, coordination mechanisms among them, and preventing potential intersections. And that's all for this week's Newsroom Weekly Review, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics. I try to bring you all the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm Chella Smith, Newsroom here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. I will see you next Friday for your next Newsroom updates. Shout out to Currency 365 for his continued support. If you want to learn about stocks and cryptos, you can join him and his crew for the most recent updates. You can find him on YouTube or Patreon. Again, just a friendly reminder, I'll be taking some time off in April, so I will be absent Friday the 22nd and Friday the 29th. That's all for this week's Newsroom. Have a fantastic and fun weekend, everyone. Take care. Make sure you join us Fridays, 4 p.m. with Newsroom Updates with Chella Smith, Entertainment News.